Humans, let's be real. When you're out here putting in work, chasing goals, leveling up, it feels good. You're building something for yourself. You're on a mission. You see the vision. But then there's your partner. They're just going with the flow. No sense of urgency, no real ambition, no clear direction. So what now? Do you pull them up and hope that they catch on? Do you lower your pace to meet them where they are? Or do you accept that maybe, just maybe, y'all aren't aligned and you keep it pushing? Here's the real question. Can a relationship survive and thrive when one person is locked in and the other person is just comfortable? Welcome to Vibes N Affirmations, where there's a thin line between crashing out and keeping it all together. I'm your host, G, your favorite voice of reason and sometimes chaos. And today, we're getting into it. Because let's be honest, love is beautiful, but ambition, or the lack of it, can break or make a relationship. So let's talk about it. Can you truly build a future with someone who isn't moving at your speed? Or does it eventually lead to frustration, resentment, you carrying the weight of the relationship alone? Let's get into it. You felt the vibes now. Let's set the tone with today's affirmation. I do not dim my ambition, and I do not force my vision onto others. Yes, say it with me. I do not dim my ambition, and I do not force my vision onto others. Now, let's sit with this for a second. This one hits because when you're building, growing, and evolving, it's natural to want the people closest to you, our partners, friends, family, to match our energy. You start moving differently, thinking bigger, making moves, and you look around like, why are they moving like I'm moving? Why don't they want more for themselves? Why do they seem so comfortable? And that's where the frustration begins. Here's the thing. Your drive is yours. It comes from within you. It is your vision, your purpose, your fire. And as much as you may want to push, motivate, or guide someone into stepping up, ambition is an internal decision. You can share knowledge. You can share support. You can lead by example. But what you could not do is force someone to do more for themselves, because no amount of external motivation will make someone see the bigger picture if they're simply not ready to. People grow when they decide to, not when they're forced. What you can do is keep leading by example. Some people won't see it. They won't get it until they see you win. You can set boundaries so their lack of ambition doesn't drain yours. Surround yourself with people who feel your drive, not people who question it. What you shouldn't do is shrink yourself because they don't see or understand your vision, or try to fix them, quote unquote. They have to choose growth for themselves. Can resentment build? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's hard to watch someone you love stay stagnant while you're evolving. You might start resenting them for staying the same, not pushing themselves, not moving with the same urgency as you. But here's the reality check. You have the right to outgrow people, but you don't have the right to demand their growth. And that's a hard truth. It's hard to accept because we hold on to relationships thinking, if I stay a little longer, if I push them maybe a little harder, maybe they'll change. But that's not your job. You can love people exactly where they are while still choosing to protect your own elevation. Your dreams, your goals, your energy deserves a space where it can thrive. Your ambition shouldn't be met with doubt, resistance, or laziness. That means sometimes protecting your ambition is stepping back from people who don't align with your energy. It means recognizing that not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some relationships are seasonal. Some people are comfortable staying the same, and that's okay. The biggest challenge? Accepting that their comfort is not your burden. Your only job is to keep pushing forward with them or without them. First things first, before we start dragging our partners, let's be honest. Not everyone moves at the same speed. That doesn't automatically make them unmotivated. Are they really holding you back, or you're just being dramatic? All right, let's get real for a second. Is your partner actually holding you back? Or do you have a different way of approaching life? Because some of us are impatient as hell. If they're not waking up at 5 a.m. to meditate, meal prep, journal, run 5 miles, and manifest generational wealth before breakfast, we immediately assume that they're unserious about life. Be honest. You probably judged someone for sleeping in before. I definitely have. But here's the thing. Not everyone moves the same way, and not everyone needs to. Some people thrive in structure, hustle all the time energy. Others are more slow and steady wins the race. And sometimes you're confusing life approaches with lack of ambition. So before you start dragging your partner for not being focused enough, ask yourself, are they actually stagnant or do they just move at a different pace than you? Are they truly unmotivated or are you projecting your own expectations? But also, let's not act like there aren't people out there just coasting through life, waiting for I don't know what the fuck to happen to them in hopes that they can make $1 billion. I don't know how though, sitting on the ass. Think about a time when you were evolving and your partner wasn't. Did you try to pull them up? Did you start resenting them? Your girl has done both. I came across this wild article that posed the question, have you ever secretly wished you could go back in time to the Victorian ages? You and your partner would have had defined roles for life and hardly grew or evolved. And listen, as someone who loves history, I had to sit with that one for a second. So here are some Victorian era relationship roles and why I would have been kicked out. The Victorian ages refers to a period of time between 1837 and 1901 when Queen Victoria ruled Britain. This era was all about strict societal rules, class divides, and industrial change. And if we're being honest, in the Victorian era, this what if your partner isn't as focused as you debate wouldn't even exist. Because back then, men had to go out and provide. There was no choice. Women were not sitting around questioning a man's drive because literally they had no choice but to go out and get it. Or they weren't eating. They was going to starve. Your husband ain't have it. Best believe that was as simple as it is. Transactional. No excuses. Sounds nice in theory, right? Until you remember that as a woman, you are expected to adapt to your partner, not challenge him, not push him to grow. Just sit, smile, and support whatever the hell he was doing. And let me be clear, I would have been kicked out of the Victorian era so fast because your girl is opinionated as hell. And you're telling me I wouldn't even get a say? Oh, hell no. Now, do I love a traditional quote unquote first date where I'm not paying a damn thing? Yes. Do I wish we could send men to war like the patriarch had intended so we wouldn't have to deal with this epidemic of male princesses? Just kidding, kinda. The truth is, a lot of us are still fighting those outdated dynamics. We want a partner who's growing with us, who can teach us something, evolving with us, or helping us evolve, matching our energy. But in today's world, growth should be a two-way street. And that means sometimes you'll outgrow people. Outgrowing someone comes with guilt. Here's another reality check. Not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some people are comfortable staying exactly where they are. So before you stress yourself out, trying to pull someone along, ask yourself, am I staying because I believe in them or because I feel guilty about leaving? Do I actually see progress or am I just making up excuses for them? If I weren't in this relationship, would I still be moving at the same speed? Because at the end of the day, your ambition deserves to be protected. Surround yourself with people who feel it, not those who slow it down. And if that means stepping away, then step away in peace, y'all. Because there is a fine ass line between supporting someone and straight up babysitting them. I don't know who needs to hear this, but your partner is not your project. They're not. Yes, you can inspire someone, you can support them, but you cannot build their ambition for them. If you're constantly trying to light a fire under them, remind them of their goals, push them to be more productive, and basically play the role of an unpaid life coach, woo, humans, that's not a relationship. That's a mentorship. There is a difference between support and emotional labor. Encouragement is healthy. We all need that partner who hypes us up, reminds us of our potential, and pushes us to be better. But there's a big difference between that and doing all the emotional labor for them. Here are some signs. You're doing too damn much. You feel like you have to nag them to stay focused. You feel more like their parent than their partner, bro. You're exhausted from carrying the weight of their ambition. At some point, you need to ask yourself, do they even want to grow? Or are you the only one doing the work? Because let me tell you, motivation has an expiration date. You can only push, inspire, and support someone so much before it starts draining you. Have you ever found yourself being the motivational speaker in a relationship instead of being the partner? Listen, I feel like this happened to me way more than once. I'm pretty sure God intended me to be an unpaid therapist. Nah, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're investing more in someone's potential than they are. And at some point, you have to step back and let them show you who they really are without your guidance. Because the real question is not, how can I make them more focused? It is, if I stop pushing, would they even move? Would they? And if the answer is no, then you already know what you need to do. Let's cut through the fluff. Are they actually moving at their own pace, figuring things out in their own time? Or are they just straight up comfortable being stagnant? No real urgency, no real plan, just existing. Because there's a huge difference between someone who's in transition, actively working through a phase, finding their next step, or pushing towards something versus someone who is just coasting through life with no intention of ever changing. And the hardest part, you have to be able to tell the difference. Listen, patience is a virtue, but let's not use it as an excuse to stay stuck. It's one thing to give someone time to grow. It's another thing to spend years waiting for someone to wake up. So let's be real with ourselves for a second. Are we being supportive or just delaying the inevitable? Ask yourself, if your partner never changed, never became more motivated, never stepped up, never grew into their potential, will you still be happy with them? If they stayed exactly the same as they are right now, with the same habits, same mindset, same energy, would that be enough for you? Because if you're holding on to potential of who they might become instead of accepting who they actually are, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. One of the biggest mistakes we make in relationships is falling for someone's potential. The possibility of them becoming a better partner, getting their life together, stepping up, and we convince ourselves to stay, hoping that one day they evolve into the version of themselves we believe that they could be. But the harsh truth, you can't love someone into growth. People don't change because we want them to. They change when they decide to. And if you have to drag, push, beg, or motivate someone every step of the way, is that really the relationship you want? Because waiting on potential isn't love, it's settling. And you deserve a partner who meets you where you are, not one you have to pull to catch up. All right, let's take a step back. No distractions, no excuses, just real reflection. Ask yourself, are you with them because you truly love and accept them exactly as they are? Flaws, mindsets, habits, energy, all of it. Not the future version of them, not the version you're hoping that they become, but the person they are exactly right now. Or are you with them because you're hoping that one day suddenly they'll wake up, get focused, and match your energy? Be honest. Are you holding out for potential that might never actually come? Are you convincing yourself to be patient because deep down you believe that they'll eventually change? Now, if it's the second one, what does that really mean for you? Because here's the hard truth. Waiting for someone to become the person that you need them to be is a dangerous game. Loving someone for their potential instead of the reality leads to frustration, resentment, and wasted time. The version of them you're in love with might not really exist. Are you willing to wait for that day? Or is it time to reevaluate and accept that they might never change? Because at some point, you have to stop waiting and start deciding. Your happiness shouldn't be put on pause for someone else's delayed growth. If they want, then they'll step up. If they don't, then you already have your answer. At the end of the day, yes, relationships require patience, but they also require alignment. Maybe you're building a business while they're excelling in their career. Maybe you're focused on self-improvement while they're working through their own personal journey. That's fine. You don't have to move in the same way, but you should be moving in the same direction. If there's no real plans, no vision, no real desire to change, that's not them figuring it out. That's stagnation. You cannot love someone into ambition. You can support them, inspire them, lead by example, but you cannot be the only reason that they found their motivation. That's an inside job. And if they're not willing to do the work for themselves, no amount of love will ever make them see the bigger picture. So don't fool yourself into thinking your love will be the thing that wakes them up, because you can't want more for someone than what they want for themselves. That's it for this episode of Vibes and Affirmations. If this spoke to you, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Tag a friend, share it. Let's keep the conversation going. And if you haven't followed already, follow the podcast so you won't miss the next episode. Next up, we're talking about something that's just as real, healing or just distracting yourself. Because let's be real, not all self-care is actually healing. Are you working on yourself, or are you just staying busy to avoid the real work? You don't want to miss this one. You got something on your mind? Send your listening letters to Vibes and Affirmations email. Got a hot take? DM me. I'll be covering them every Sunday. Until next time, humans, stay solid and keep vibing.